All right, we're here, and here's the bike. It exists, and it's finally mine. So we're gonna take her home and share the content with you. What a moment. I wanna thank Mile High Harley Davidson of Parker and Rich, my sales guy, who was outstanding. Great experience. I'm up against rain. Imagine that. So we'll see. I bet the bike will be completely wet when we get home. But a lot of content coming. I'll share everything I learned about the bike and how to set it up, and all that good stuff is coming your way. But what a great moment. There it is, 23 CVO. So you can believe it, my very first ride, pouring, wind, no hail, that's a good sign. But let me say, this bike does pretty good in the rain. That rain mode, I don't know if it helped me or not, but I made it. But wow, the suspension, #1 thing. All the bumps that I gotta lift my ass up to avoid, you hardly even feel them on this bike. Suspension, big improvement. Handled great in the rain. It kept a lot of the rain off me. So I am wet, definitely wet. The pants are a little wet, but the protection, I noticed that right away. The protection, really good. Windshield probably a little higher would be nice. The stereo, outstanding. Even the wind and the rain, it sounded pretty good. The seat in the rain really kept you planted. And I thought it was actually pretty comfortable. It sits a little high. I like to sit a little lower. What else can I say? First impressions, it's my first ride. Wind, rain, something else. The bike handled great, the display was great. The controls I got used to pretty quickly. Is a little hard to find the turn signals, right? They are not where your thumb wants to go. I would also say the cable clutch. So it took me quite a while to get used to that hydraulic clutch. It's gonna take me now some time to get used to the cable one, because I was a little herky-jerky here and there. It's just grabbing in a different spot. So I'll be, I'm sure, in love with the cable clutch, because I certainly missed it when I got the hydraulic clutch. But then I got used to the hydraulic clutch, and now I'm struggling with this one, so no surprise there. The motor has a nice idle. Really don't hear it at all when you're riding, but there's definitely feedback. You know it's there. It's definitely a more modern experience that we've talked about before. But hey, what a great first ride in just absolute pouring rain. But hey, we made it. The bike is home safely. So still less than 24 hours after taking delivery of the CVO, it continued to rain all night. So what did I do? Next best thing to riding it, washing it. So we gave it an ice bath, and I think washing your bike is a great way to get familiar with it, right? And get you to look at all the parts and touch them and get a feel for the bike. So that's what we ended up doing last night. I wanted to comment on the ride home. So, you know, I take delivery of the bike and immediately ride into a wall of water. The wind was going and the rain was sideways. And I couldn't care less. I was having the time of my life riding the bike home. But one thing I noticed when I got home is just how dry I was. The bike really protected my body from the rain. So I was not wet at all, really. The one thing I noticed too, as I was riding it, you could see the raindrops just kind of shooting over and around you. So I think that fairing is doing a really amazing job of getting the wind and the rain and the bugs and whatever off of you. And it's great. But as noted, the windshield that comes on these stock, I don't know why they do it. If they just want you to buy another windshield, is that really their hope? Or is it just the cool factor? They want to have a cooler looking windshield. And my 18 CVO, right, had that little short 4-inch that didn't even come up above the fairing. And that was one of the early things you had to change right away, because you got no wind protection and you couldn't hear the stereo or the motor at all. So similar feedback with this one, right? The windshield is not tall enough. It does drown out a lot of the sound, but I was amazed at the rain protection. You could really see that fairing at work, and I think it's a great design. I will say there's no buffeting, right? So I don't have any buffeting in my face, but the rain was pelting my face. So you could tell it's just a little short, but even though it's not an annoying buffeting, it's a noise. There's a lot of wind noise in your face. And I think that's what's really drowning out the stereo and the sound of the engine. All right, so a couple other things, observations early. So the seat. So I actually enjoyed the seat on the ride home. In the rain, it was really grippy and really kind of confident inspiring. I didn't have any pain or any uncomfort, but I wasn't on it for very long, and I was quite focused on what I was doing. But one thing I noticed is the Alcantara trim, right? So it's got like an Alcantara soft trim around it. That retains water. And it was wet when I got back, and it stayed wet for quite a while. And I actually heard that feedback from the demo fleet. One of the hourly employees there commented that they've had issues with the rain soaking that part of the seat, and it stays wet, takes a while to dry. Let's talk about the screen. I thought the screen was beautiful. It was easy to see. It's just gorgeous, very high resolution. I really did like it. But on my very first ride, I was like, where is the music? Because I'm pretty sure we had it set to play the radio, and my sales guy and we tuned to one of the channels. And so when I got on the bike and left there was no sound at all. And I thought, well, is it really drowning all this out? So I cranked it all the way to maximum, and there was nothing, right? And I just kept looking, and I did where the audio was routing. Keep in mind, I'm riding for the very first time, so trying to figure out the buttons and what hand does what. But I checked the audio routing. It was set to speakers. I could not figure it out. So I changed it to a headset just to see, and then I changed it back, and bam, I was hit with this volume of sound. So, and I've noticed just playing with it a little bit last night, the audio takes forever to show up. So when you boot the bike, it goes through a whole boot process. There is no music coming out of that thing for a while. And then as I rode it for the first time out of the dealer, that music was not going to show up. And I just happened to change the routing to headset and then back, and it seemed to wake it up. So there's definitely a lot of bugs in there, and I hope that's something they can improve. The boom audio that I'm coming off of, it wasn't much different, right? That thing was really slow to boot as well. The display comes up right away, so you have your gauges. I think they obviously set priority to that because you don't want to ride off with no gauges. So they probably made it boot to the gauges, and then the audio is the secondary. But hopefully they'll find a way to improve on that, because that's annoying. It's just, where's your music, right? The audio is great. My very first impression from coming from the boom to this system, the Rockford Fosgate, is clearly clarity. Everything is just clearer. It's not, I don't think it's louder. The windshield, I think, is drowning out much of the power of it. But man, the clarity of the sound is much better than the boom. The controls. So a lot of freaking buttons, and I said that in the initial when they announced it. I kept commenting how many buttons there were. Really, the cluster in the center is just one button, and you just push up or down or left or right, and then the little knob in the center is attached. It doesn't move independently, so it's just a place to push to enter. So it's really not that complicated. It's getting used to it. The turn signals are way off, so I miss the turn signal constantly and had to really think about it. I think I'm going to end up rolling the controls forward a little bit, and that will, I think, make it easier to find the turn signal. So I'll show you that in a future video. We'll set the bike up and I'll show you how to customize the handlebar and the controls. So I think that will help there. I did notice the back button on the menu system. There's a little button there to go backwards. That is not working. It is inconsistent at best. You have to push it several times and then it may go backwards, but you can touch the screen and it'll go right back. So the system is not lagging. It's the button as far as I can tell. So either I have a defective one or there's some issue with that. Curious, anyone else who owns one, is your back button on the menu working? So, you know, as I cleaned the bike, the more, pleased I was. The bike's paint is the CVO quality that I expected from my last one. It is, it's silver. Silver is not my color. I've been very clear about that. I could not spend the money to get the whiskey neat. If you were able to do that, congrats to you. Enjoy it. That's an amazing, amazing paint job. This paint job, right, is a lot of one color. But I don't know, the camera does not show it. It is better in person, so I'm feeling better about it when I picked it up, because when you see it, and especially when I washed it, it's got a lot of flake in it, and it's not a bright silver, it's a dark silver, so it is that platinum. And sometimes in the light, especially here in the garage, it really looks platinum. And it does set the black accents off really well. And that was the trade, right? So besides saving $6,000, you got the black chrome exhaust, the black chrome push rod covers, and you got a colored logo in the seats. So it's a little bit of a trade. So I've getting over it. It's growing on me. The paint was a big priority for me here. It's the redesign of the bike that I was after. And I'm real happy. I also want to see the finish. It's CVO, right? It doesn't feel plasticky. It doesn't feel mass produced. It's still Harley quality. It really resonated to me as I worked through the bike cleaning it. This is still Harley Davidson with the quality. I wanted to know, though, I had a comment on my video I did yesterday about the bike. Someone commented that they received theirs and they were really disappointed. And I read that, and he said, the finishes were cheap and it felt plastic, I think is what he said. Man, I feel for you. If you're watching this, you're hurt my heart. Like, that sucks, right? To feel that way about such a big purchase. And we're all counting on this bike to set the next part of history with the touring models. So feeling that way is really disappointing. So I try to have an open mind, because I really wasn't feeling that, especially last night, not even been with the bike 24 hours. So I try to feel, was I just excited because it was new? Am I just, talking myself that it's amazing because I spent all that money on it? I don't know. I didn't get that. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with the bike. I think the finishes are amazing. But a couple of things that I thought about. So like the lid, this lid it's flimsy. And you can see that the bend here is put this at a real disadvantage, right? Because there's a lot of bow here. So there's not as much support as there was on the old bags where it went straight across. I think that created more rigidity. It made the panel more rigid because it was straight across. So I think this feels flimsy, right? And I almost wonder, will it crack? It bounces around, right? So I think time will tell. I would also say, I don't think Harley had as much time to build and test this bike. I think they were rushed to get it together. I think COVID probably really hurt their ability to really test the bike. So we'll see if they make any changes as we go. I assume they will. But that's part of being an early adopter, is going through those things, discovering them. To me, it's kind of exciting to discover what's going to work and what's not. And I'm just excited to have this opportunity to share that with you. So that's my take on it. I think the fit and finish is still amazing. I think we're going to find things that aren't working so well, and we'll see what Harley does with that feedback. So this little flimsy, so I think that's part of the impression he may be picking up. The other thing I'll call out is these doors, these storage doors. That one has popped open a couple times, you know, and I think I've heard another YouTuber post that his broke already, the mechanism. I don't think those are very durable. I love the compartment, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of room in there. It's vertical, it's way easy to reach in and grab stuff. So that's the win, right? But that mechanism, I don't think that's gonna hold up either. But, you know, a couple of minor things, but when I overall my experience with the bike, I think it's still a CVO finish. And I've been real pleased thus far. The lights. So, you know, the lights don't go all the way up. They've really redesigned this, right? So it has a lot more curve, and the saddlebags have a lot more curve. This is a much different design. I'm really liking it. The more I live with it, I like it. I like the short here. I like the angle here. But I tell you, these lights are amazing. And Harley actually released these lights, I want to say a couple years ago, these came out. So they offer the turn signal inserts, and they offered some brake light options, and they've done a nice job, whoever's doing this light for them, because when you turn it on, it's a solid illumination. You can't see the individual LEDs. They're not little dots at all. It's a solid color, and I think that's really awesome. I really like that look. And if you go to your dealer, a lot of the dealers I've seen, they have a display with all their new lights that are designed this way. I just think they're really gorgeous. So I really am enjoying the lights. Okay, let's see, couple last comments. So I've got a complete setup video planned. So I have not set this bike up. It's no phone is carried to it or anything. So I'm gonna go through all that stuff and make one video of setting up the CVO Road Glide here for your phone and your headset and your garage door opener and your charging port and your handlebars. I'm gonna do all that. So if there's some things you're interested in or wanna see, put it in the comments and I'll look to include it in that video. Really excited to have this opportunity to share this experience with you. Know that I'll always be genuine. I have a lot of experience with Harley Davidsons, been around them for since I was very young. I am a fanboy, but I have no problem being honest about the product and the company and their policies. So I hope you feel that and see that in my videos. So I will give you complete honesty as we go on with this bike. So less than 24 hours, it's supposed to rain. The watch said here, Apple Weather said 90% chance of rain here in the next hour. But then it goes to 0% for much of the rest of the day. So I do hope to get out on the bike and put some more miles on it today. But we'll get that setup video done and get that out to you. I really appreciate you joining me. Until next time, in the Friction Zone.